Hello, hello, ladies. It's Renee, and it is 11 o'clock, which means it is time for our Facebook Live. And this week, I decided to go right to what I know all you guys are wanting. So somebody in the group said, oh my goodness, I think she was 53, and what has happened to my waist? And she just wanted a couple moves that she could do during the day, anytime, to help get her waist back. And boy, can most of us, especially as shorter torsos, really relate to that. So I thought, okay, let's come on, give you some things to think about, some things to play with. And while I personally really love a lot of our floor classes and our floor moves for that particular thing, I know she probably just can't, in the middle of the grocery store, get down and do some pretzel twist, for example. So I thought, all right, we'll just make these standing moves. So welcome, everybody that's on, saying hello, hello, and I'm just going to get right on into it. How's that? So here's one of the things that I really want you guys to get, because if you get this, it will make so much difference on everything. And that is, if you are looking to, I'm going to use the word spot reduce at a certain place in your body, you need to take a look at what moves would give you those results. In other words, here's what I mean. We're talking about our middle, right? So if we just stand forward aerobics, what's that going to do? Well, anytime you use big muscles, you're going to be utilizing calories, your heart rate's going to go up, and that obviously is going to help burn fat from everywhere. Awesome. And you really want to take a look at that. That's one of the reasons that I think T-Tapp is so effective, even to 15 minutes, is because with every move, it's full body. We're standing, we're using every muscle in the body for every move. So that way, the whole body's working and you're using a lot of calories, a lot of energy, and it's full body in alignment. So I really think that's the reason. There's a reason for the sequence of the workout, and the whole workout really works. And if you'll just commit to doing it, you absolutely will cinch in at your waist. Now, that being said, from there, if you just need to pick a few moves, what moves specifically move here? So let's just think about this for a second. We all have our spine that comes straight down here, right? And if we're looking at cinching in, we need to look at how do we shorten these muscle fibers up, right? Well, how about some twisting moves? So if you have a spine and you want to cinch in, we have our pelvis, which is level here, and we have our shoulder girdle here with the spine. We want to be turning, keeping the hips as straight as possible. So if you're going to keep your hips straight to the front, and you want to squeegee in this way so you can cinch those muscles in, then you know you've got to work just the shoulders. So that's what you want to think about. Obviously, then, any of the T-Tapp twist stretches works. T-Tapp twist works with that going down. It will cinch all the way. Any move that does that squeegee turn where you're able to keep your hips here and your shoulders turn, that's going to be your biggest thing. How can you get even more out of that? You can use your breathing. What does that look like? Well, I'm just going to do T-Tapp twist stretch. I personally like this one where I do a bear claw and I roll my thumbs back. So I'm just going to get my feet back in close. When you're doing turns, you want to have a narrow stance. Why? I'm going to show you. If your feet are really close, you can really do a big turn without, letting the hips move. If your feet are out wider, that's about as far as you're going to turn. So your base gets much wider, so you don't get as much squeegee. So that's why you really want to take a look that your feet are your forefingers, right? And we're bending the knees, tailbone down, and I'm going to come back to it. Put a push pin in tailbone down for me for a second. I'm going to bear claw and roll back. So I like to, with this particular move, to get the most out of it, I like to visualize that I have a pole straight down the center of my body. And I'm just going to focus on, I'm going to rotate my shoulders around the pole. That visualization is really helpful because it keeps us from shifting side to side, which is what the body wants, because the body does not love to do this move. It doesn't like to cinch this way, and it doesn't like to go side to side. These are all the moves, though, that we need to perfect in order to really cinch in. Isn't that interesting? The body will take the path of least resistance. So just know that. Now, when I do this, I personally like to have my forearms my wrist a little below my elbows. When you do that, because what's going to happen is when you get tired, the forearms go up. I don't know why they do that, but they do that on almost everybody. And if you lower a little bit, you're going to find that you get more, lat activation. And we know that lats are really the key to our metabolism and to really cinching in. So you're up like this. You've lifted those ribs. Your chin is tucked. You're going to inhale first. Here's the breath. Where are you inhaling into? I want you to visualize you're inhaling deep into your rib cage. See how my ribs just expanded? As I begin to turn, I'm exhaling through my mouth hard as I come over. Now notice, I didn't shift. I didn't shift a hip. I'm just straight down to here. And now as I start to pump back with my arm, I'm thinking taking that knee the opposite way. So I'm going to take the shoulders this way, the hip that way, and release. Release. Every time I do that, I'm going to draw my belly in. Now I'm going to come just to the side. Okay, after I do a few of those, now notice my shoulders are straight, my hips turned a little bit, but you can't do it exactly when you're doing this. Now watch, this is an important little thing. You're going to then go inhale and hunch the shoulders up. You ready? Inhale, hunch. So as you're lifting the shoulders, you're lifting the ribs up as high as you can get them. Then you think shoulders back a little, slide your shoulder blades up and keep the ribs up, and then go and then you bring yourself all the way back to here. Inhale, hunch. Now when you're doing that, notice I'm keeping my wrist and elbow in a straight line. I'm hunching. Now I'm going to curl over, relax the head, pinkies to the side. I'm going to come up. I'm going to lift my ribs and back to here, open, and then we go to the other side. So can you see when you start to get a sense of, all right, I want to chin here. How do I do it in a way that will shorten these muscle fibers? And that's it. It's the alignment. It's the ribs up watching this. It's the keeping the hips straight, and it's using the breath. Now, here's two other moves. Which I really hate. There I go. We're back again. I saw myself just freeze. All right, and that is our reach, scoop, jazz twist combination. So let's think about this one, right? So we're in our reach, scoop position, and what are we doing? We're tilting that statue, shaking out head tension. Now I want you to just feel lifting from that elbow. Now here's what the body will do. I'm telling you, your body's going to do this because it doesn't like to stretch here. Why? I don't know, but it doesn't. So you have to really think, all right, I'm up against the wall. Okay, I'm straight here. I'm going to keep lifting up from my elbow. The elbow is like a short lever that really connects to here. And now I like to think, now keep the standing bend. I like to think about this hip, melting it down. So if you think I'm going to melt the hip down as I'm lifting up, look how much space you get from rib to hip. Then you straighten that arm. Now that's a long lever pulling on it. You flip, you take this shoulder down and reach up, 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 all the way, all the way, all the way to there. Now, you do that on both sides. You do a few of those, and then you go right into jazz twist. See, I love to do it that way. Now, what you can't really see, let me see if I go back, is if you go right from boom like that, over, over, over to here. Now notice, my front foot is at an angle, and it's angling to the center of my body. I'm going to leave it there. So as I do this, now, here we are in jazz twist. What do we talk about? We have to keep shoulder and hip in alignment if we want to get a squeegee of the spine. If we want to inhale rib cage, exhale, squeegee it out. So if I'm in this position and I start doing my jazz twist, or I'm leaning and I'm thinking about my front arm, or I pull my front arm across the body, if I do any of those things that the body will intuitively try to do, if you don't take care, if you don't strangle it back in again, you're not going to get the squeegee. You can see that, right? If you go forward and then turn, you're not getting that good squeegee. How do we do it then? We come right to here. We think squeeze between the shoulder blades, and you always think back shoulder. Think like you're going to pull an arrow. This is all a shoulder move. Shoulders, shoulders. So you're going to use the arms. Ideally, you're trying to get front arm, shoulder, shoulder, back elbow in a straight line. Then you square it back up. You get it to here. You square it back up. Can you see all I'm doing is moving my shoulders? Now, as I move my shoulders like that, what's happening? Yes, you got it. I'm squeegeeing in. I'm working in here. How are you going to know? Well, first of all, you're going to feel it for sure, okay? You want to look in the mirror to the side and see, okay? Oh, one other thing I do want to mention. This foot is angled out in the front. As you're taking it out, I want you to think about front knee, out to the side, little toe. And now you're even going to feel it in the lower belly. So reach, scoop, jazz twist, T-Tapp twist. Of course, any of the stretches, it's all the same idea. Those three will absolutely help you. They can't not help you cinch in. Now, I'm going to share with you one more, but before I do that, I just want to make a comment. Thank you so much, you guys. I love you so much, and you're all so supportive of each other. So when this particular person asked, 3 to 4 moves to get a waist, a lot of you answered such good answers. Love it, love it, love it. I want to just make a quick comment. This is just my experience, and I'd love some conversation around this with you, okay? So several of you said, make sure you hold your belly in for as much of the day as you can. And that seems to make perfect sense, right? Okay, you want to pull the belly in. Now, I'm just going to share with you what I've really recently come to realize, and that is, first of all, most of us aren't going to do that because we get off into what we're doing. We're not thinking about pulling that belly in because that's not a natural move to pull the belly in, right? And a lot of us can't breathe if we pull the belly in. My thought about that is also that, think about this. Our feet are the foundation to our bodies. The feet really are what keeps us, we attach to the earth, right? So we're being supported by the earth and the ground as it comes up. Our feet are the whole body foundation, right? Which is why it's so important to really work the feet and keep them nice and loose and the fascia unbound. But the second real foundation to the body is our whole pelvis. Why is that? Well, because the pelvis separates your upper body from your lower body, right? So the more we want to be able to have fluidity and mobility in that pelvis. If the pelvis gets locked up, then the upper body will tend to get locked up and your knees will start to hurt, okay? And we'll think, oh my, I have bad knees, when in actuality, it's just that you're not getting movement in the pelvis, which will then pull, hamstrings pull, quads pull, pulls on the knees, and then you can see, because the body does not work in parts. And so that's the other thing when people say, just give me the 2 moves for this specific thing. Okay, I'm giving that to you, but what you also know is that jazz twist, all these other moves are working everything. But this specifically, I think you can see for this. But with the pelvis, you want to really work on having mobility in there. The body works in patterns and it works all together. So again, if you have frozen shoulder, oftentimes you're also going to be tight in the hips. Again, it all works together. So you don't really want to pull that belly in and lock up. Even if you just do that, pull your belly in and feel. If your belly is pulled in, do you have good movement in your pelvis? Probably not. And when I ask people to go into a little bit more of a, like a wider leg and to just do some pelvic rotations, you'll know yourself, do I have good fluidity in my pelvis? You'll know if you can't separate the pelvis from your upper body. If the body just does all of this, then you know, oh my goodness, it's time to get movement, okay? The other thing about that, as we're talking about being really tight and stuck in the pelvis, we are also tight and stuck across our rib cage, okay? Why is that? Well, when we're in fear, when we're stressed, when we're working at a computer, what are we doing all day long, you guys? We're hunched up like this. This is a fear-based position. And even if you're not in fear, if you're stressed, all the energy gets pulled up like this and pulled into here, okay? Now, so here we are and we're like this, okay? And we're like, I really need to do something with my belly. Well, if you need to get, we know that lat activation, right, is super important to help us supercharge that metabolism. That was definitely something that Teresa left us with for sure. But how are you going to get your ribs up when you're locked in like this? Pretty difficult. So the first thing that you really want to focus in on is, how can I open up in my rib cage? How can I get mid-back, thoracic back to start to move? If your fascia is locked up in here, you can't get the ribs up and be comfortable, right? Or you might do it like this, but because these muscles are so tight, it's really hard to separate lifting shoulders from loosening up in that lat activation, or in the lats and in the rib cage. So I want you to just think about that for a little bit. How can you even just move this way, right? Just roll forward and open, roll forward and open. What's a great move for that? You got it. Arm pumps. Arm pumps, that's one of the reasons that they're so powerful, right? That they really start to open us up. But one of the things I find a lot of people do in the beginning is we do arm pumps like this. Can you see the difference? Where the shoulders are still rolled forward. So I think it's helpful to just think about moving this way, just trying to get some movement up in here, right? Rotation, moving gently, opening up in that rib cage. Then you have a much better ability to lift the ribs. I know I just went right from pelvis to ribs, but that's because the whole torso, everything works together, right? When everything's bound up, and now we need to open it. All right, so that being said, I don't want to throw the old baby away with the bathwater in terms of pulling the belly in. I get what you guys are saying, and that's not a wrong thing. Hopefully you kind of see what I'm saying, though. The focus is, you're pulling it in from here, it really just locks us up here. But how about if instead we put our feet under our hips? So I'm just talking about, like, you're at the grocery store, what can you do, right? When you're actually starting to think about your alignment. Well, the first thing you do want to do is definitely notice what you're doing with your knees. In other words, so many of us women, here's a very common stance. We tend to lock those knees back, which tends to arch our back a bit, and then we're like this. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but for some of us, that's not even an exaggeration, right? Where we're really arching that back with the knees locked back. So what you want to do is shift back, soften the knees. Now, for those of you who are knee lockers, backers, is that a term? I don't know. They typically lock back. Even just a small bend will feel like you're bending hugely, but somebody else might not even notice you're bending because it will be that much. So just bend the knees a little bit and then connect brain to tailbone. Okay, so this movement will appear to be the same as pulling the belly in, but the intention and where you're working from will be opposite, not the front of the body, but consider working from the back of the body. What does that mean? Well, here I am, feet are under. I'm going to soften my knees, and now I'm just going to connect to my tail. I'm going to drop my tail down. Now, you might notice that when you drop your tail down, your belly will automatically come in. Now you're in more of a neutral spine. It worked automatically, but you're not thinking, let me pull the belly in, which is very tense and tight, and you can't get a breath. So I'm just going to show you that from here because this is really powerful for me. I definitely have a bit of a sway back. I don't necessarily lock back, but I do have a little bit of a sway back, which always brings my lower belly forward. Okay. This would be, if I'm not thinking about it, this is what I look like. Gosh, I hate that. But anyway, here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slightly bend my knees. Now watch, all I'm going to do, I think you can see me from the side. All I'm going to do, I'm not thinking belly at all. I'm going to think tailbone. I'm just going to pull my tail down. I truly did not pull that belly in. I just pulled the tail down. Okay. Now my tail is down and now I can move. I did not lock up in my hips. I didn't pull my belly in so I couldn't breathe, just tailbone down. And interestingly enough, that will do the same thing for you. Okay. And it's really much better on your back. So I think that helped. Tailbone down, release in that rib cage. I don't care, do this all day long. Elbows back. You can even slightly lift the chin, curl and bring those elbows forward, back and open. Work in that back so that now you can get ribs up. Good ways to do it. Bending knees, tailbone, right? So lots of different ways. I like thinking, for me, having the intention, the thought and the movement be in the back of my body, which then translates front. I find that to be really helpful. So let's just say I'm going to go ahead and inhale, hunch. Now, when you do that, see how high you can get those shoulders. It's another sign of whether or not you're bound up in the fascia. Lift up from under the rib cage as high as you can. Now just think, shoulders back just a little bit. Don't jam them back. I'm just going to kind of slide them back. And now my thought is I'm going to slide my shoulder blades down my back and keep my girls up. Good. So even if you don't hunch all the way, even a little bit, inhale, hunch, shoulders back, slide the blades down, lift the girls. So now I'm not lifting from here. My ribs are lifting. My tailbone is down. There I have it. Now I'm really working. Now I can work in here much more. If I work in here, I can inhale, exhale, pull it together. How about even going to a flat back? I can lift up, elbows, hinge over. Now I'm thinking, okay, elbows up. Now I can engage in my mid-back. Now I go to do arm pumps. Okay, now I can engage more in my upper back because now I'm more open up in here. So I hope that that gives you just a little bit of some things to play with. And now I'm going to add, okay, one more move. Now, the other moves you guys probably pretty much know, but I want you to put a Y here if you know and ever do. Let's just first go no. A Y if you know advanced hoe downs. How many of you that are on here right now know what advanced hoe downs are? Just give me a Y. I'll see how many Y's I get in a second. I haven't gotten any Y's yet, but I might because this is a little bit slow. So hopefully we've got some Y's in there. But how many of you actually use advanced hoe downs on a daily basis? Probably not too many. I know I don't. But you know what? When I was thinking about what I want to put on here, I thought, you know what? We need to start doing this. So I'm going to put out a challenge, but not quite yet. Let's do advanced hoe downs for those of you that have never done it and don't know what it is. Okay, so yes, we're still here with our mittens, strong mittens, stretch thumbs, pull back. All right, let's see if Renee can do this without falling over. So the foot is in front, pointed toe. Ribs are up. You ready? You're going to lift. You're going to go over to a side like a little teapot and the shoulders bent. Now, what are you feeling? Big stretch there. You ready? You got to use your abs to bring yourself back up and touch. Yeah, it's a lot easier to go faster. So let me just try that. By the way, did you notice standing knee stays bent? So it's a lift and over, lift and touch. A lift. You go over and you are leaning back, just a little bit, okay? So that way you lift from your belly button or your core and drop. How about one more? Lift, over, lift, and touch other side. It's also great for balance. By the way, I did not mention this yet. Another great core series is our whole balance series. Why? Because you need to be tight in your core before you can move your extremities all around for balance, okay? But I thought these three are more specific to that part that she was asking about. Okay, here we go again. Lift, take it over, little teapot, lifting the ribs, shoulders down. Let's bring it back up and touch. It's a lift and over, a lift, and a touch. I'll give one more lift, tip over, lift, and touch. That is advanced Hoe Downs. So since we started this today on this live stream, why don't we all do a challenge for the week? And the challenge for the week will be, I'm not going to come on and do these with you. You have to do them yourself, so you'll know what they are now. Let's do, and you first do want to do primary back stretch, or at least curl and scoops, you guys, because you really need to warm that back up before you do any of your T-Tapp twist stretches. It's really important. So make sure you do your primary back stretch. But then let's do reach scoops, jazz twists, one set, whichever T-Tapp twist stretch you like, whether you like this one, whether you like this one, whether you like this one, it doesn't matter. They all do, or maybe break it up a little bit. And then let's do a set of advanced Hoe Downs. Now, how many would be a set? Well, why don't we do on each side 5 on each side? So it's not like a whole different count like regular Hoe Downs are. So 5 on each side. What do you say? Do you like that? I think that would be a really fun challenge for the week. And come on each day when you do it and said, I did it. And then share any like ahas that you're starting to have, okay? Tailbone down would be great. See how that feels to you. See how it feels for you to focus on your shoulder blades going down instead of constantly thinking about this. Also notice opening up in that rib cage. Ribs up is huge. A lot of you said you got to keep your ribs up all day. You are so right. That works with the caveat that you're not locked up in the rib cage. Yes, still keep doing ribs up. They constantly work so that we can get lots of movement in the pelvis and in the rib cage. That way you'll get even more out of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm just going to come over and look real quick, saying hi to all of you. And thanks so much for coming on. Some of you all have your name on here. Some I won't, just because of what it gives, StreamYard gives me here. So Andrea, good to see you. Kat's on. Kat is in the house. Hi, honey. Julie's on. Thanks. Adrian, I'm going to see you in a few minutes. Hi, Angelita and Teresa. Thank you guys so much. Peggy's on. Carol figured it out. She wasn't sure how to get there, but I know it's, you know, it is what it is, right? And Jill's on, and Sally, thank you. So girls, thanks so much for joining me. We'll have this to keep watching. And let's do a challenge. We're going to do a waist whittling challenge for the week. So I can't wait to see what ahas you have and how you can take this information, put it in your body, and see some results. So you guys have a phenomenal week. I'm starting my live online 4 tips coaching in just less than an hour. So for those of you that are joining me, we're going to have a great time. And I'll see you guys soon. Blessings. Have a beautiful week. Stay safe and healthy and happy. Bye.